500,000 naira. It's enough to make this problem go away.
Get away from me. I am not killing my baby.
You should have aborted it when I told you to. Now get out of my house. I can't be feeding you. We barely survive on my pension. You need to find the man responsible and make him accept the pregnancy.
Dear viewers, this powerful story will teach you about the consequences of our choices, the strength of a mother's love, and the transformative power of forgiveness. You'll learn that success built from struggle is the strongest kind, and that teaching our children grace instead of bitterness is the greatest gift we can give them. After watching, share your thoughts in the comments about forgiveness and second chances. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories that touch the heart and teach valuable life lessons. Adanna sat in the doctor's office, staring at the ultrasound screen with a mixture of terror and wonder. 3 distinct heartbeats pulsed in steady rhythm. 3 tiny forms barely visible but unmistakably there. Triplets. The doctor confirmed with a smile. Congratulations. You're about 8 weeks along. Everything looks healthy. Healthy. 3 healthy babies. Adanna's hand trembled as she accepted the printed ultrasound image. She was 24 years old, a junior accountant at a tech company in Lagos, living in a shared apartment with 2 roommates. And now she was going to be a mother to 3 babies at once. Her first thought was of Emeka, Chukwemeka Okafor, her boyfriend of 2 years. They'd met at a company networking event. He was 28, a senior manager with confidence that bordered on arrogance and a smile that made her heart skip. He came from old Lagos money, the kind of family whose name appeared in society pages and business magazines. She came from Enugu, the daughter of retired teachers who lived simply and honorably. Her parents had sacrificed to send her to university, and she'd worked hard to build her career in Lagos. Meeting Emeka had felt like fate. He was charming, successful, and for 2 years she believed he loved her. He'd never introduced her to his family, though. Always excuses. They're traveling. It's not the right time. Let's wait until things are more settled. Now she understood why he'd been waiting. Now she carried the truth that would force everything into the open. That evening, she went to his luxury apartment in Ikoyi, the ultrasound photo in her purse feeling like it weighed 1,000 pounds. He answered the door in casual designer clothes, a glass of whiskey already in hand. Adanna, I wasn't expecting you tonight. We need to talk. Her voice was steadier than she felt. He let her in, his expression already guarded. Emeka had always been good at reading situations, at protecting himself. She sat on his expensive leather couch and pulled out the ultrasound photo with shaking hands. I'm pregnant, she said simply. 8 weeks. And Emeka, it's triplets. 3 babies. The silence that followed was deafening. She watched his face transform. Surprise, then calculation, then something cold settling over his features like a mask. Triplets. His voice was flat. Are you sure they're mine? The question hit her like a slap. What? Of course they're yours. Emeka, we've been together for 2 years. 2 years of casual dating. Adanna, not a commitment, not a promise of... He stopped, running his hand over his face. This is a disaster. A disaster? She stood, anger cutting through her shock. These are your children. 3 babies. How can you call them a disaster? Because that's what they are. His voice rose. I'm 28 years old. I'm being groomed to take over my father's company. I have a reputation, expectations. And you think I can just... What? Marry my junior accountant girlfriend who suddenly shows up pregnant with triplets. I'm not suddenly pregnant. Emeka, it takes 2 people. Are you trying to trap me? He cut her off. Is that what this is? You saw an opportunity and you took it? Adanna felt tears burning her eyes. Trap you? I thought you loved me. I thought we had a future together. Love. Emeka laughed bitterly. Adanna, you're nice. You're sweet, but you're not wife material. Not for my family. Not for the Okafors. He walked to his desk, pulled out his checkbook. My family has standards. Old money families. Established connections. You're from Enugu. Your parents are teachers. You work as a junior accountant. My mother would never accept you. He wrote a check, held it out. Here, 500,000 naira. Take care of it. All three of them. Get rid of the problem. Adanna stared at the check, then at the man she thought she knew. These aren't problems, Emeka. They're human beings. They're your children. They're not children yet. His voice was ice. They're a situation, and I'm giving you the money to handle the situation quietly. Take it. No. She stepped back. I'm keeping them. All three of them. His expression hardened. Then you're on your own. Completely. I'll deny everything. I'll say you're lying about who the father is. My family has lawyers. Adanna. Very good lawyers. We'll destroy any claim you try to make. Don't even think about coming after me for child support or trying to use my name. You'll get nothing from me except legal trouble. Do you understand? She understood perfectly. She understood that the man she'd loved didn't exist. She understood that she was alone. I understand, she whispered. I understand exactly who you are. She left his apartment building and walked for hours through Lagos streets, the ultrasound photo clutched in her hand. 3 babies. 3 lives depending on her. No father. No support. Just her. The next morning at work, she could barely function. A kind co-worker noticed her crying in the bathroom, and eventually, she broke down and told her everything. The co-worker's advice was gentle but firm. Go home to your parents. They'll help you figure this out. That weekend, Adanna took a bus to Enugu, to her parents' modest home where she'd grown up. Her mother was cooking when she arrived, her father reading the newspaper in his favorite chair. They looked older than she remembered, and she realized the weight of what she was about to ask them to carry. Mama, Papa, she said, sitting down across from them. I need to tell you something. I'm pregnant. Her mother's face lit up briefly before confusion set in. Pregnant? But where's the father? When is the wedding? There won't be a wedding. The words caught in her throat. He rejected me. He rejected the babies. He gave me money to... She couldn't say it. To get rid of them? Her father finished, his voice hard. She nodded, tears streaming. But I can't. I won't. Papa, I'm carrying triplets. 3 babies. And I know it's a lot, but with your help. Triplets? Her mother's voice rose. 3 babies? Adanna, are you mad? How will you survive? With your help, Adanna repeated desperately. I can work. We're retired teachers, her father cut her off. We have barely enough for ourselves. You want us to support you and 3 babies on our pension? But I'm your daughter. You should have thought about that before you got yourself into this situation. Her mother was crying now. An unmarried woman with 1 baby is already difficult. But 3 babies with no father? Adanna, this is impossible. Her father stood, his face stern in a way she'd rarely seen. You have 2 choices, Adanna. Do what that man suggested and end this pregnancy, or find your own way forward. But you cannot stay here. The words knocked the breath from her lungs. Papa, you're telling me to leave? Where will I go? That's not our problem to solve. His voice was cold, but she could see the pain behind it. We raised you to be smart, to make good choices. You made your choice. Now you live with it. We cannot support this shame, her mother added through tears. What will the neighbors say? What will the church say? Our daughter, pregnant with 3 babies, no husband? If you choose to keep them, you choose to do it alone. We cannot help you." Adanna looked at her parents, the people who'd raised her, sacrificed for her education, loved her, and saw doors closing. Everywhere she turned, doors were closing. She returned to Lagos with no family support, no boyfriend, and 3 babies growing inside her. She sat in her tiny shared apartment that night, looking at the ultrasound photo of 3 tiny forms who were counting on her. "I don't know how I'm going to do this," she whispered to them, her hand on her barely there belly. "I have no money, no help, nowhere to go. Everyone has rejected us." Tears streamed down her face as reality crashed over her. She was 24 years old and completely, utterly alone. "But I promise you," she continued, her voice strengthening, "I will fight for you, all 3 of you. I will find a way. You are mine, and I will never reject you. Never, no matter what it costs me." She looked at the ultrasound photo again. 3 tiny miracles that the world had told her to discard. Your father doesn't want you. Your grandparents don't want you. But I want you. And somehow that's going to be enough. It had to be enough, because there was no one else. The delivery room was chaos. Adanna's screams mixed with the urgent voices of doctors and nurses as her body worked to bring 3 lives into the world. The labor was 32 hours of agony, culminating in an emergency cesarean section that drained the last of her savings. But when they placed 3 tiny babies on her chest, 2 girls and a boy, each barely 5 pounds, none of the pain mattered. "What are their names?" the nurse asked gently. Adanna looked at each perfect face. "Chioma," she said, touching the eldest daughter's cheek. "God's good gift." "Adaeze," she touched the younger daughter, the princess. And Chinedu, she kissed her son's forehead. "God leads." "Beautiful names." The nurse said, "Is the father coming?" "No," Adanna said simply. "It's just us, just the 4 of us." The hospital bill was devastating. She'd used all her savings for delivery and her maternity leave, unpaid because she hadn't been at the company long enough, was running out. When she returned to work with 3-month-old triplets, her supervisor pulled her aside. "Adanna, you're a good worker, but this isn't going to work. You've already missed too many days because of the babies. We need reliability. Please," she begged. "I need this job. I'll find better childcare. I'm sorry. We're letting you go." So she moved to a tiny 1-room apartment in a lower-income area of Lagos, all she could afford. The room barely fit 3 cribs and a small mattress on the floor where she slept. She found work as a shop attendant during the day, making barely enough to cover rent and food. At night, she did freelance accounting work on a borrowed laptop, while the triplets slept. When that wasn't enough, she sewed clothes for neighbors, her fingers bleeding from the needle pricks. She survived on 3 hours of sleep a night. Her body was always exhausted, her mind always calculating. Formula, diapers, rent, food. There was never enough money for everything, so she made impossible choices. She ate once a day so the babies could eat 3 times. She wore the same 3 outfits for years so they could have clean clothes. One neighbor, Mama Ngozi, an elderly woman who'd raised 8 children herself, sometimes watched the triplets when Adanna was desperate. "You're killing yourself, my dear," she'd say gently. "I'm surviving," Adanna would reply. "That's all I need to do." The triplets grew. At age 3, they were energetic whirlwinds who asked endless questions. Adanna couldn't afford preschool, so she taught them herself. The alphabet using cardboard letters she'd made, numbers with bottle caps, reading with library books she borrowed and returned religiously. By age 5, she'd saved enough to get them into a low-cost primary school. She worked even harder, took a second shop job, did accounting work until 2 a.m., sewed until her fingers cramped. Other mothers whispered when she picked up the children. Look at her. 3 children, and no husband. Where's their father? How does she even feed them? The triplets heard the whispers. At age 6, they came home with questions. Mama, why don't we have a daddy? Chioma asked, her small face serious. Adanna had prepared for this moment, had rehearsed her answer 1,000 times. She knelt down to their level. You have a daddy, she said carefully. His name is Chukwemeka Okafor. He's a businessman here in Lagos. Where is he? Adaeze wanted to know. He made some difficult choices when I told him about you. Adult choices that are hard to understand. But I want you to know something important. She looked at each of them. Your daddy is not a bad man. He was scared and he made a mistake. A big mistake. But people make mistakes. Did he not want us? Chinedu asked, his small voice breaking her heart. He was scared of wanting you, Adanna said. Sometimes fear makes people do things they regret. But I don't want you to hate him. Can you promise me that? Promise you won't grow up with hate in your hearts. But he left you alone, Mama, Chioma protested. We see how hard you work. We see you crying sometimes. I cry because I'm tired, not because I'm sad. It wasn't entirely true. And I work hard because you 3 are worth every sacrifice. Your daddy made his choice, and I made mine. I chose you. I will always choose you. They hugged her, their small arms tight around her neck, and Adanna sent up a silent prayer that she was doing the right thing. She could have taught them to hate Emeka. God knows she had reason enough. But hate was a poison, and she refused to let it infect her children. At age 8, the triplets' exceptional intelligence became impossible to ignore. Chioma devoured every book about law and justice she could find at the library. I want to help people who are treated unfairly, she declared. Adaeze checked out medical books meant for high schoolers, studying diagrams of the human body with intense focus. I want to fix people who are sick, Mama. Chinedu read discarded business newspapers, asking Adanna to explain terms like stocks and investments. I want to understand how money works, so we never have to worry again. Their teachers called Adanna in for meetings. These children are gifted, truly gifted. They need better schools, more opportunities. I'm doing everything I can, Adanna said, her voice tight. We know, the teacher said kindly. We've arranged scholarship applications to better secondary schools. With their test scores, they have real chances. At age 12, all 3 won full scholarships to prestigious secondary schools. The day the letters arrived, Adanna cried so hard she couldn't breathe. Her babies, her 3 miracles, were going to have chances she'd never dreamed possible. That night, Chinedu asked the question again. Mama, tell us the truth about our father. They were older now, ready for more truth. Adanna sat them down. Your father's name is Chukwemeka Okafor. He comes from a wealthy family. When I told him I was pregnant with you 3, he was scared. He offered me money to end the pregnancy. When I refused, he said he wanted nothing to do with us. He tried to kill us? Adaeze's voice was shocked. He was scared, Adanna repeated. Fear makes people do terrible things. What about our grandparents? Chioma asked. Your parents? Adanna took a deep breath. They rejected me too. They said they couldn't afford to help raise triplets. They told me to do what your father said, or leave. The silence was thick with their shock. So you were completely alone? Chinedu finally said, Yes, completely alone. But I had you 3, and you were enough. Mama, Chioma said, tears in her eyes, why do you never speak badly about him after what he did? Because hate is a poison, my daughter. If I taught you to hate your father, that hate would grow in your hearts and poison everything good. He made a terrible mistake, yes, but he's still your father. And somewhere, maybe he regrets his choice. I want you to be better than he was. I want you to have love in your hearts, not bitterness. Promise me. Through tears, they promised. At 16, they were top students, working part-time jobs to help their mother despite her protests. At 18, they all received full university scholarships. Chioma to law school, Adaeze to medical school, Chinedu to business school. The day they left for university, Adanna stood at the bus station, watching them board with their second-hand suitcases and scholarship letters. "Mama," they called from the bus window, "we're going to make you proud." "You already have," she called back, tears streaming. "You already have." She went home to her tiny apartment, larger now that they were gone, emptier. She looked at their school photos on the wall, 3 beautiful faces looking back at her. "We did it," she whispered. "We survived. Against everything, we survived. And more than survived, they thrived." Adanna raised triplets completely alone, working 3 jobs, going hungry so they could eat, teaching them forgive instead of hate. That's the definition of strength. What did you think of her choice to defend their father even after what he did? Was it wise or too forgiving? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If this mother's sacrifice moved you, smash that like button and subscribe African Tales by Zion for more stories about real strength and unconditional love. Next chapter shows what happened to the father who thought he could just walk away. Karma has been waiting for him. Keep watching. 7 years later, the triplets stood together at Adaeze's graduation from medical school, their 3rd major graduation in as many years. At 23, they'd achieved what most took decades to accomplish. Chioma Okafor, 23, had just made junior partner at Adaeze & Associates, one of Lagos's most prestigious law firms. She specialized in corporate fraud, and her sharp mind had already won cases that made headlines. Adaeze Okafor, 23, had completed her specialization in cardiothoracic surgery, one of the youngest in the country to do so. She worked at Lagos General Hospital, and senior surgeons twice her age sought her opinions on complex cases. Chinedu Okafor, 23, had started his own investment firm at 21 with borrowed capital and brilliant instincts. 2 years later, he was worth millions, and his firm was known for smart, ethical investments that helped small businesses grow. They all bore their father's surname, Okafor, though they'd never met him. Why do you keep his name? Adanna had asked when they'd turned 18 and could have changed it. "So he'll know," Chioma had said simply. "Someday when he hears our names, he'll know what he lost, what he could have had." Now they stood together, successful and united, while their mother watched with tears of pride. They bought her a modest but comfortable apartment 2 years ago, and she finally retired from her exhausting jobs. She spent her days volunteering at orphanages, helping other single mothers navigate the system she'd learned to survive. Meanwhile, across Lagos in a high-rise office building, Chukwuemeka Okafor's world was crumbling. At 51, Emeka had inherited Okafor Industries when his father died 5 years ago. The company was worth billions, manufacturing real estate, import-export. He'd married at 30 to Ifeoma, a woman from another wealthy family, in an arrangement that was more business merger than romance. The marriage was loveless. Ifeoma couldn't conceive, though they'd tried fertility treatments for years. Eventually, they'd stopped trying to pretend, living separate lives in their massive mansion, sleeping in different wings, attending social events together only when necessary for appearances. He'd never told anyone about Adanna or the triplets. That mistake had been buried deep, a secret he'd carried for over 2 decades. His business partner, Dubama Kohli, had been with him for 15 years. They built the company together after his father's death, Or so Emeka thought. Dubum was clever, charismatic, and Emeka trusted him completely. That trust was Emeka's fatal mistake. For 5 years, Dubum had been embezzling money through shell companies, creating fake contracts, skimming millions from deals. But theft wasn't enough. Dubum wanted it all, the entire company, the billions, the Okafor name and legacy. So he created a meticulous plan to frame Emeka for crimes he didn't commit. False documents showing Emeka's approval of illegal deals. Forged signatures on bribery contracts. Fake offshore accounts in Emeka's name holding laundered money. Dubum had spent years building an unshakable case that would destroy Emeka completely. The trap closed on a Tuesday morning. Emeka was in a board meeting when EFCC agents burst through the doors. Chukwemeka Okafor, you're under arrest for fraud, money laundering, tax evasion, and corruption. The room erupted in chaos. Emeka stood frozen as they read his rights, his mind unable to process what was happening. There must be a mistake, he said. I haven't done anything. Sir, we have documents with your signature approving illegal contracts. We have offshore accounts in your name. We have testimony from multiple sources. You need to come with us. As they led him out in handcuffs, past employees who respected him, past the company his father had built, Emeka caught Dubum's eye. Dubum, help me. You know these charges are fake. You handle those accounts. Dubum's face was a perfect mask of shocked concern. Emeka, I had no idea you were involved in this. I'm so sorry, my friend. I'll do everything I can to help. But his eyes told a different story. His eyes said, I won. The news spread like wildfire. Billionaire CEO arrested in massive fraud scandal. Emeka's photo was on every news station, every newspaper. An emergency board meeting was called. Dubum stood before the board, his face grave. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a tragedy. Emeka has brought shame to this company our fathers built. We cannot be associated with a criminal. I propose we remove him as CEO immediately, and I'll take over temporarily until the situation is resolved. The board voted unanimously. Dubum Okafor, Emeka's trusted partner and betrayer, became the new CEO. Emeka was denied bail. The evidence against him was too strong, the crimes too serious. He faced 25 years in prison. His wife visited him once in jail. I'm filing for divorce. Chioma said coldly through the glass partition. I will not be married to a criminal. You destroyed the Okafor name. Goodbye, Emeka. She took her share of their assets and left. Emeka's lawyers were useless. Dubum had bribed him to sabotage his defense. Sitting in his cell at night, Emeka hit rock bottom. He was 51 years old. Everything he'd built, everything he'd inherited, everything he'd been, gone. His marriage was a sham that had ended. His company had been stolen. His freedom was gone. His health was failing under the stress. Chest pains, shortness of breath. The prison doctor said his blood pressure was dangerously high. He had nothing. More accurately, he had nothing that mattered. One night, lying on the thin prison mattress, he thought about his life. All the wealth, all the success, all the respect. What had it gotten him? A loveless marriage. No children. No real friends. No one who cared if he lived or died. His mind drifted, as it sometimes did, to Adanna. 23 years ago, she'd stood in his apartment telling him she was pregnant with triplets, and he'd rejected her with calculated cruelty. He wondered sometimes, had she kept them? Had she actually raised 3 children alone? Or had she taken his money and his advice? He'd never checked, never followed up. Too proud, too scared, too cold. If she had kept them, they'd be in their 20s now. Maybe they had families of their own. Maybe they were successful. Or maybe they'd struggled as he predicted. Maybe they'd ended up in poverty and desperation. He'd never know. He'd made sure of that. "I have nothing," he whispered to the darkness of his cell. "I built an empire, and I have nothing that matters. No legacy, no family, no love. Just money, and now I don't even have that." The chest pains got worse. The prison doctor looked worried. "Mr. Okafor, your heart is in serious trouble. The stress, the conditions here, your age, you need proper medical care. If you don't get it soon..." He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. Emeka closed his eyes and waited for whatever came next. He'd rejected the only real thing he'd ever had, and now he would die with nothing. Karma, it seemed, had been patient, but she'd never forgotten. The news alert appeared on Chinedu's phone during a business lunch. Billionaire CEO Chukwemeka Okafor arrested in massive fraud scandal. He froze, his fork halfway at his mouth. His sister's phones buzzed simultaneously. They had all set alerts years ago for any news containing their father's name. That evening, the triplets sat in Chioma's upscale apartment in Victoria Island, the news playing on her television. Their father's face filled the screen as reporters detailed the charges: fraud, money laundering, tax evasion, corruption. "It's him," Adaeze said unnecessarily. "After all these years." "He's being framed," Chioma said, her lawyer's mind already analyzing. "I can tell from the charges. They're too perfect, too comprehensive. Someone set this up." Chinedu pulled up information on his laptop. His business partner, Dubba Makoli, just became CEO. Emergency board vote. That's suspicious timing. They sat in silence for a long moment. "Should we tell Mama?" Adaeze finally asked. "She already knows," Chinedu said. "The question is, what do we do about it?" That question hung in the air. Their father, the man who'd rejected them before they were born, who'd tried to pay their mother to abort them, who'd threatened legal action if she ever came after him, the man who'd left their mother to raise him alone in poverty, while he lived in mansions and married for business and built an empire on the foundation of his cruelty. They went to their mother's apartment. Adanna was sitting by the window, staring out at Lagos's lights, her face unreadable. "You saw the news," Chioma said. "Yes." "He's been arrested, accused of fraud. He could go to prison for decades." "I know." Adaeze sat beside her mother. "Mama, should we help him?" Adanna turned to look at her 3 children, her brilliant, successful, beautiful children who become everything despite having nothing. "That is not my decision to make," she said quietly. "He's your father. Only you can decide what to do." "He abandoned us," Chioma said, her voice hard. "He rejected you when you had nowhere to go. He threatened to destroy you if you asked for help. Why should we lift a finger for him?" "Because you are not him," Adanna replied. "I didn't raise you to return cruelty with cruelty. I raised you to be better than the people who hurt you." "But, Mama," Chinedu started, "I'm not saying you must help him. I'm saying think about who you want to be, not who he was. If you can help and you choose not to, that's your right. But make sure you can live with that choice." The triplets left their mother's apartment and went to a late-night restaurant to argue it out. "We owe him nothing," Chioma insisted. "Less than nothing. He owes us 23 years of child support, of being a father, of..." "But what if he's innocent?" Chinedu interrupted. "What if this Dubum really did frame him?" "Even if we hate him," Adaeze added slowly, "we're still doctors, lawyers, business people. Helping people is what we do. It's who we are." They debated for hours. Every reason to walk away. Every reason to help. It was Chioma, finally, who made the decision. "Mama taught us that hate is poison. If we have the power to help, and we choose not to because of bitterness, isn't that poison growing? Isn't that becoming what we promised never to be? So we help him," Chinedu said, "not because he deserves it, but because we're better than he was." We investigate first. Chioma decided. If he's actually guilty, he can rot. But if this is a setup, then we do what's right. Agreed? They agreed. Chioma's investigation. As a junior partner specializing in corporate fraud, Chioma had access to resources most lawyers dreamed of. She pulled every file she could legally access on her father's case. Working 16-hour days, she traced the money trails. The offshore account supposedly in her father's name, created with his information, but the IP addresses all trace back to one source, Dubam Akoli's office, the signatures on the fraudulent contracts. She hired a forensic document analyst who confirmed they were forgeries. Good forgeries, but forgeries nonetheless. The testimony from multiple sources. When she dug deeper, all the witnesses had received payments from shell companies owned by Dubam Akoli. She compiled a case that would make any prosecutor salivate. Dubam Akoli had systematically embezzled millions, then framed her father to cover his tracks and steal the company. She walked into the EFCC prosecutor's office with a file an inch thick. I have evidence that Chukwuemeka Okafor was framed. The real criminal is Dubam Akoli. The prosecutor looked up. And who are you? Chioma Okafor. I'm his daughter. And I'm a lawyer who won't let an innocent man go to prison while the real criminal walks free. Chinedu's strategic move. While his sister worked on the legal front, Chinedu moved on the business front. Dubam was trying to sell Okafor Industries to a foreign conglomerate, a deal that would make him enormously wealthy and destroy the Okafor legacy forever. But the sale required board approval, and the board would follow the major shareholders. Chinedu studied the company's shareholder structure. His father owned 40%, Dubam owned 30%, and the remaining 30% was divided among smaller investors. For 3 months, Chinedu worked in secret, using his investment firm and borrowed capital from investors who trusted his track record. He approached each small shareholder with offers they couldn't refuse, premium prices for their shares. He did it through shell companies, so no one knew it was him. Slowly, methodically, he bought 35% of Okafor Industries. When Dubam called a board meeting to approve the sale, he was confident. He had the votes. He had the power. The meeting started. Dubam presented the sale. Gentlemen, this deal will... I call for a vote of no confidence. A voice said. Everyone turned. A young man stood in the doorway, tall, confident, unmistakably an Okafor despite the modern suit and sharp eyes. And who are you? Dubam demanded. Chinedu Okafor, and I own 35% of this company. Enough to block your sale, enough to call this vote, and enough to expose every illegal thing you've done. Dubam's face went white. You're Emeka's son? He doesn't have children. That's what he told you. But I'm very real. I'm the child he rejected 23 years ago. And I'm the one saving what he built while you try to destroy it. Adaeze moment. While her siblings fought legal and business battles, Adaeze received a call that made her blood run cold. Dr. Okafor, we need you in the ER. Cardiac emergency. Patient transferred from prison, critical condition, needs immediate surgery. She ran to the ER. The attending physician met her at the door. Severe coronary artery disease, massive blockages, needs emergency triple bypass. We need our best surgeon. That's you. Who's the patient? The physician checked the chart. Chukwuemeka Okafor. Time stopped. Adaeze stood frozen. The name on the chart seeming pulsed like a heartbeat. Her father, the man who'd rejected her before she was born, dying, needing her to save him. She walked to the window of his room. He was unconscious, intubated, hooked to machines that beeped urgently. He looked old, broken, nothing like the powerful businessman from the news photos. Her colleague appeared beside her. Dr. Okafor, are you ready? If we don't operate in the next hour, he'll die. Adaeze thought of her mother, of the promise she'd made to never let hate poison her heart, of the doctor's oath she'd taken to save lives. Yes, she said, her voice steady. Prep the ore. Let's save him. She scrubbed in, her hands steady despite the emotional storm inside. This was her father's heart she'd be holding, the heart that had rejected her, that had caused her mother decades of pain, the heart she was going to save anyway, because she was better than he'd been, because that's who her mother had raised her to be. Wow! The triplets are saving the father who abandoned them. Chioma proved he was framed. Chinedu saved his company, and Adaeze is literally holding his heart in her hands during surgery. They didn't have to do any of this, but they're better than their pain. Would you have helped someone who hurt you like that? Or is forgiveness just letting people off too easy? Drop your honest opinion in the comments. If this chapter gave you chills, like this video and subscribe to African Tales by Zion. One more chapter left. The reunion where everything comes full circle. You absolutely cannot miss how this ends. Emeka woke slowly, pain radiating through his chest, machines beeping steadily around him. His vision was blurry. His body felt heavy, and for a confused moment, he couldn't remember where he was. Prison. He'd been in prison. And then chest pain, collapse, darkness. A nurse appeared beside him, checking his monitors. Mr. Okafor, welcome back. You're in the ICU at Lagos General Hospital. You've just had major cardiac surgery. Try not to move too much. Surgery. His hand moved weakly to his chest, feeling bandages. Ooh. His voice was hoarse. Who was my surgeon? The nurse smiled. Dr. Adaeze Okafor, one of our finest cardiothoracic surgeons. She performed an 8-hour triple bypass. You're very lucky she was on duty. Okafor, the name pierced through his confusion. No relation to me? I don't have... He trailed off. The nurse's expression changed to something puzzled. Sir, she said she was your daughter. The heart monitor beside him spiked. Alarm started beeping. The nurse quickly adjusted something. Mr. Okafor, you need to stay calm. Your heart just went through major trauma. My daughter? The words came out strangled. I don't have a daughter. I don't have children. But even as he said it, a memory surfaced. 23 years old. Adanna standing in his apartment. It's triplets, Emeka. 3 babies. 3. Oh, God. 3. His lawyer visited the next day, bringing news that should have been joyous, but only added to Emeka's spinning confusion. Emeka, you're free. All charges dropped. Duba Makoli had been arrested for fraud, embezzlement, forgery. The real criminal is going to prison, not you. How? Emeka managed. A lawyer named Chioma Okafor uncovered everything. She proved you were framed, presented evidence so compelling the prosecutor had no choice. She said, the lawyer paused. She said she was your daughter. Daughter. That word again. That impossible word. And your company, the lawyer continued. Dubum tried to sell it, but a major shareholder blocked the sale. Young man, brilliant businessman, owns 35% now. His name is Chinedu Okafor. He also claimed to be your son. 3. Chioma, Adaeze, Chinedu. 3 names. 3 people who'd saved him. 3 children he'd rejected before they were born. The reality crashed over him like a wave. She'd kept them. Adanna had kept them. All 3. And they'd grown up and they'd become this: brilliant, successful, powerful enough to save the man who'd abandoned them. I need to see them, Emeka whispered. I need... Oh, God, what have I done? Days passed. Emeka grew stronger physically while emotionally he fell apart. He destroyed the best thing he'd ever had. He'd rejected 3 children who would have made any father proud, rejected the woman who'd apparently raised him into extraordinary people, and they'd save him anyway. They'd saved him when he deserved nothing. A week after his surgery, 3 people walked into his private room. A woman in her 20s wearing a sharp business suit, lawyer written all over her. A woman in surgical scrubs, professional and composed. A young man in an expensive suit, carrying himself with the confidence of someone who built something from nothing. They all had his eyes, his features mixed with Adanna's. They were undeniably his children. Emeka tried to sit up, gasped at the pain, fell back against the pillows. His eyes filled with tears. "You're real," he whispered. "You're all real. You're all here." The woman in scrubs, Adaeze, spoke first. "We performed your surgery. Your heart was severely damaged. You nearly died. You—" He looked at her. "You saved my life." "I'm a surgeon," she said simply. "It's what I do." The man in the suit, Chinedu, stepped forward. "I own 35% of Okafor Industries now. Dubum tried to sell your company. I stopped him. You saved my company." Emeka's voice broke. "I'm a businessman," Chinedu said. "I saw an opportunity." The woman in the suit, Chioma, crossed her arms. "I prove you were framed. Got the charges dropped. You were facing 25 years. You saved my freedom." Tears streamed down Emeka's face. "All 3 of you saved me. You saved everything. Why? After what I did." "We didn't do it for you," Chioma said, her voice hard. "We did it because of who our mother raised us to be." "Your mother?" Emeka could barely speak. "Adanna, is she alive? Is she well?" "She's alive," Adaeze said. "She's well. No thanks to you. Tell me," Emeka begged. "Please, tell me what happened. How did she—" Chinedu's jaw tightened. "She raised us alone. Completely alone. She worked 3 jobs. She went hungry so we could eat. She wore the same clothes for years so we could have school uniforms and books. She slept 3 hours a night for 23 years, Adaeze added. She sacrificed everything. Her health, her youth, her dreams. For us. Her own parents rejected her, Chioma said. Just like you did. They told her to abort us or leave their house. She chose us. Emeka sobbed openly. I don't deserve this. I don't deserve any of you. I don't deserve her forgiveness. You're right, Chioma agreed coldly. You don't. Then why? He looked at them desperately. Why did you help me? Because every time we asked about you, Adaeze said, she defended you every time we wanted to hate you. She stopped us. She said hate was poison, Chinedu continued. She said you made a mistake, but you were still our father. She taught us that being better than those who hurt you is the highest form of strength, Chioma finished. So we chose to be better than you were. I missed everything. Emeka's voice was anguished. Your first words, your first steps, your childhoods, your graduations. I missed your entire lives. I built an empire and I had nothing. No children, no love, no legacy. And she had nothing and built you, built everything. A voice from the doorway. I had them. That was everything. They all turned. Adanna stood there, 47 years old now. Her hair touched with gray. Her face showing the lines of a life lived hard but lived with purpose. She was wearing simple clothes, no jewelry, no pretense. She was the most beautiful thing Emeka had ever seen. Adanna. He tried to sit up again, failed. Adanna, I'm so sorry. I'm so deeply, profoundly sorry. I was a coward. I was cruel. I destroyed the best thing I ever had. She walked to his bedside calmly. I know. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But please know, I'm sorry for everything. For every moment of pain I caused you. For every sacrifice you had to make. For everything these incredible people achieved with no help from me. Emeka, she said gently, I forgave you a long time ago, not because you deserved it, because I needed to be free. Carrying hate for you would have poisoned me and poisoned them. I chose peace instead. How? The word was torn from him. How can you forgive what I did? Because forgiveness isn't about you. It's about me. About not letting your mistake define my life. She looked at their children. About not letting your absence poison their hearts. Emeka looked at his 3 children, these brilliant, powerful, beautiful people he'd rejected. You're all so successful. How did you? They did it themselves, Adanna said with fierce pride. They watched me fight, and they decided to fight too. They watched me survive, and they decided to thrive. I gave them love. They gave themselves success. I missed everything, Emeka repeated brokenly. 23 years of their lives. I can never get that back. No, Chinedu agreed. You can't. Can I? Emeka looked at them hopefully, desperately. Is there any way I can try to know you now? I know I have no right. I know I don't deserve it. But please, give me a chance to try to be what I should have been. The triplets looked at their mother. She nodded slightly. It's your choice. Chioma spoke for all 3. We're not here to be your redemption story. We're not here to make you feel better about your choices. We're not here to give you the family you rejected so you can feel complete. Hope died in Emeka's eyes. But Chioma continued, we're here. We exist. And you're our father, whether we like it or not. If you want to try, we'll see. One day at a time. No promises. No guarantees. But hurt our mother again, Adaeze added, her voice steel, and we disappear forever. Understand? I understand. Fresh tears fell. Thank you. I don't deserve this chance, but I swear I'll try to earn it. Over the following months, Emeka slowly got to know his children. Awkward lunches where they told him about their lives, and he listened, learning about the people they'd become without him. He learned about Adanna's sacrifices, the struggles they'd overcome, the promises they'd made to themselves to succeed. He was humbled by how much they'd achieved, how much they'd overcome. They were everything he thought they couldn't be: successful, brilliant, strong. And they'd done it specifically because he'd abandoned them, not despite it. He signed over 30% of his company's shares to the Triplets, 10% each. It's not enough. It will never be enough. But it's a start. He established the Adanna Foundation with 10 million naira, supporting single mothers, providing scholarships, offering resources to women raising children alone. He insisted Adanna's name be on it despite her protests. The world should know what strength looks like, he said. It looks like you. 1 year after his release from prison, they sat together for dinner, Adanna, Emeka, and the Triplets. It wasn't perfect. There was still pain, still distance. But there was also healing. This doesn't erase what happened, Chioma said firmly. I know, Emeka replied. I'll spend my life trying to make up for what I can't undo. We're doing this for Mama, Adaeze added, because she taught us forgiveness. And because, Chinedu said, we're proof that people can be better than their worst moments. Even you. Emeka looked at Adanna across the table. I threw away the best thing I ever had. I'll regret that until I die. Maybe, she said, but you've been given something rare, a second chance. Don't waste it. The dinner ended with careful smiles and hope that something new could be built. Not what was lost, that was gone forever, but something different. A family forged not by blood alone, but by choice, forgiveness, and the refusal to let bitterness win. Later, Emeka stood alone in his apartment, looking at a photo from that dinner. His 3 children, brilliant, successful, united. The children he'd rejected when they were nothing. The children who'd save him when he was nothing. That's the difference between us, he whispered to the photo. You chose grace. I chose fear. And I'll spend the rest of my life trying to become worthy of what you gave me. In her apartment, Adanna tucked the same photo into her journal. She'd written one entry. Today, Emeka asked why I never taught the children to hate him. I told him what I've always believed. Hate is a poison that destroys the person who carries it. I refuse to let his mistake poison my children. I chose to fill them with love instead of bitterness, strength instead of victimhood, purpose instead of pain. They grew up to be exactly who I hoped they'd be. People who are better than the worst thing that happened to them. That's my greatest achievement. Not surviving what he did to us, but thriving anyway, and teaching them to do the same. The triplets gathered at Chioma's apartment for their weekly dinner, raised glasses and a toast. To Mama, Chioma said, to the woman who taught us that strength isn't about revenge, Adaeze added. It's about rising above it, Chinedu finished, and becoming better than those who hurt you. They clinked glasses. 3 people who'd been rejected before they were born, who'd grown up in poverty, with a single mother who worked herself to exhaustion, who'd been told they would fail and instead became everything, who'd saved their father not because he deserved it, but because their mother had raised them to be better than their pain. That was their real inheritance. Not money, not a father's name or a company or shares or foundations, but the knowledge that grace is stronger than bitterness, that love is more powerful than hate, and that the children you reject might one day become the only ones who can save you. Asterisk, what a powerful journey from rejection to redemption. Emeka rejected his triplets and lost everything, but they save him anyway because their mother raised him with grace instead of hate. That's the ultimate lesson. We become who we choose to be, not who our pain makes us. What hit you hardest in this story? Was it the mother's sacrifice, the children's choice to forgive, or Emeka's realization of what he'd lost? Drop your deepest thoughts in the comments below. If this story moved you, inspired you, or taught you something about the power of forgiveness and grace, please like this video and share it with someone who needs to hear this message. Subscribe to African Tales by Zion with notifications on for more powerful stories about real-life lessons, family, and second chances. Remember, the way we treat people in their weakness often determines whether they'll be there in our weakness. Emeka learned that lesson 23 years too late. But his children taught him that it's never too late to become better. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next powerful tale, asterisk.